Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to a quick live feed here. We had an email come in today with a question from one of my viewers. And it is actually a very excellent question that they asked. What kind of tools would you use on a job site and what would you recommend? Depends on the job site and it depends on what kind of application that you're going to be doing. If you're going to be installing cabling or if you're going to be dismantling something or, well, first of all, it also depends on what kind of payload that you're going to be hauling around. Now, for my business, I use a combination between a Dodge Caravan SE from like 2001. It's a shorty van. It's not the Grand Caravan. The Grand Caravan is like 8 feet long, and this one's like 6. And you get with the Grand Caravan, you got 4 feet of storage in the back, and this one you got like 2. But if you take the seat out, you get about 4 feet anyway. So, and no, it also depends if you do a lot of installing jobs, or if you do like alarm work, or if you do security cameras or TV antenna, cable, or satellite installation, or if you do a lot of major IT work on site, then a van is definitely something that you'd want to look into. I've addressed this several times before, but we can definitely address it again. But there are also different models and makes of different vans. You got your Dodge. Caravan is good for plows, or it depends on what year you get. If you get like one from 2001 or 2007, that's good for up to, that payload is about 2,600 pounds, but you also have to subtract that from the weight of what you're hauling in the vehicle, and also including passengers. So a lot of the earlier vans are only like 3.0 liter, so you also got to figure that. And if you go to the contractor's van, they had like the Chevy Expresses. The 4.3 is kind of wimpy in my opinion, but you're better off with like the 6.0. Actually, before I make an idiot out of myself here, I got another computer sitting right next to me. Why don't I just look it up real quick? All right. So I think Chevy Express. Let's see here. They also got the Chevy's or City Express, but they didn't make that one that long. But the only downside to that's only a 2 liter 4-cylinder. But if you're not hauling anything that heavy and you don't tow trailers around, it's just mainly parts and stuff. Yeah, you could probably get away with something like that. That's if you're into those blue vans. Or if you don't want to spend 12,000 for something like that from Chevy, and you want something with decent amount of power, that's a van. You could either buy their Avenger. You get like a 3.4 liter V6, and you can pick one up for around 3 to 4,000. And a lot of those vans, they were built rock solid, so that's if you're a Chevy guy, or get the newer one or the Uplander. Those things are built solid, in my opinion. I still see a lot of those on the road yet. Or if you're not really a van or minivan person and you want a contractor's van, then the Chevy. Okay. Express, here we go. Express cargo. So it depends on the year. So if, say you're on a very limited budget, you can pick one like a 99 up for $3,800 or $3,950. And those feature the 5.7 liter Vortex V8 engine. But a lot of them now, some of them you can get in the 4.3 V6, some in the 4.8 V8, and then you can get it in the 6.0 V8. But there's also different trim packages that you can get. You can get like the 1500. That's typically you can get it between a 4.3 and a 4.8 liter. 2500, you can get that in a 4.8 to 6.0. And a 3500, you can get that in a 6.0 liter and a 4.8. The difference between 25 and 3500 is you got a longer wheelbase. So, and these you can actually tow, like let's say you need a skid steer or you need a compact tractor to dig with a ditch witch on it for trenching your hole. So that with a van like that, you would definitely be able to tow something. Or if you had a cargo trailer with stuff in it, you could also tow. So those are an option. Pickup trucks are nice to have, but if you're in Wisconsin, you got truck plates you gotta pay for plus wheel tax. And if you use your truck for business, then you gotta have commercial plates. So, well, the minivan is you can classify it as a passenger vehicle, and in some cases, you might not be a van person at all. You might like the idea of having a Suburban or a Tahoe as your work vehicle, and that's okay. It's great for in the wintertime when you're trenching through the snow and with the 4-wheel drive, and so that's and pickup trucks are nice for that too. So if you're a Ford person, then like the E150 or E250 or E3 conversion cargo van would be your option. Either the 5.4 Triton or 7.3 Power Stroke diesel or 6-liter Power Stroke diesel vans. Or even the Ford Windstar or Aerostar or Super or Freestar minivans is an option. Or if you're Dodge wise, like a Dodge Caravan or Grand Caravan or the Ram vans from the 90s to 2000s, or if you like the Sprinter vans, those are an option. They basically had a partnership with Mercedes-Benz at one point in time. That's kind of because Mercedes-Benz makes a van basically the same as a Dodge, except they put their label on, and Freightliner had to do the same van, but they just put their logo on there. So that's as an option. And they do have, well, Dodge is no longer, or that division is no longer Dodge anymore. That's Parama's. So like the Pro, let's see, So you go to Ram's website, Ram Trucks, so you go trucks and vans. So you got the ProMaster City, which is just a 4.0, or no, that's a 2.0 or 2.0 liter 4 cylinder. And it's basically like the Chevy City Express. Those are actually decent vehicles. I used one as a loaner. Well, mine was other one was getting an oil change for the day. Can't really haul anything with it as far as parts, yeah, but I mean like a trailer or anything heavy, not so much. But as a service van for going on site and troubleshooting, it's perfect. You can customize the back with their OEM. You can put cabinets back there. They're actually quite awesome what you can do with those contractor vans. And then they got the ProMaster. You can get this many different configurations from the little standard roof to the high roof, so you can actually stand up straight in there and work. In there, you can put a workbench in there. There's a whole bunch of different options. And so, as far as the vehicles, and if you don't like American contractor vans or contractor vehicles, or you can always branch off the Toyota or Nissan, or I don't think the other ones offer contractor vans, but in the United States. But I know Nissan, you can buy. I've never driven a Nissan contractor van of any kind. The only Nissan vehicles I've ever touched were the Infinity products. But that's about it as far as Nissan. Okay, maybe I think I borrowed somebody's Maxima a long time ago, but as far as Nissan, I'm not really familiar with different products and stuff. So let's see here. So as far as like power tools go, it's not like you're gonna need a wood lathe or anything fancy like that for doing installing. Most of the tools that you're gonna use most of the time is a cordless drill, and there's many different brands out there. I've used quite a few different ones over time. I've used very cheap ones like Harbor Freight Drill Masters. Actually, surprisingly, if you don't have to do a lot of major drilling, like if you don't use it to drill through concrete or metal or anything like that, and you just drill holes through wood. But I'm not talking the inch thick spade bits. I'm just talking general, like 1/8 holes, 1/64, 3/12, or just driving screws. I'm not talking heavy duty, hefty screws. I'm just talking like drywall screws. A drill like that is perfect, or if you're just unscrewing stuff or rescrewing stuff or mounting box, like plasticky boxes to the wall or something. Yeah, something like that is perfect for that. Or if you're like your cheap Wally World stuff, Hyper Tough makes a decent one for blade application. I'm not familiar with the newer Ryobi stuff, but I had a lot of the 12 volt stuff from years ago. And the problem with those are, if you don't, this is my own fault. I'd probably still have the stuff if it wasn't for the fact that I didn't always charge it. And a lot of those batteries built up crystals and stuff, and the drill itself was still good, and it had a lot of life left in it. Oh, and they do get beat up a little bit over time, but not because you're banging on it and acting stupid with it, but just from general use, things do wear out, and they do get scuffed and scratched a little bit from a little bit of use. But and even I've used even oddball generic stuff like Michigan Industrial Tech Tools and knockoff drills. And the main thing in common with nickel cadmium batteries was that they just crystallized. So that was kind of the only drills that I really thought were well put together were Black & Decker with the lithium ion batteries, 20 volt. I got several of those that I use. And then for the heavier duty stuff, I got to use a Porter cable. Actually, I don't even think, no, I don't have the Black & Decker stuff anymore. I upgraded to the DeWalt XPS, and that works pretty good. Those are lithium ion. Those have plenty of power with the brushless. So that's when you're doing installing and stuff like that, you want something that's going to work. And then for some applications, I still like the corded drills. And as far as corded drills go, if you're doing a lot of major heavy duty stuff like concrete and that, then you'd want like a Milwaukee or a DeWalt corded hammer drill, or get yourself like a Sears Craftsman Industrial from the 90s or 70s or 80s. Those things are built rock solid for that time era. They got plenty of torque for application like that. And even some of the Black & Decker stuff wasn't bad. So as far as drill bits, I don't care what brand you buy, you're going to snap them off at some point in time eventually. So usually I stick with the combination between old style Craftsman ones, Black & Decker ones, Irwins, Cobalt, DeWalt's. None of them are the old USA ones are built well, but none of the new ones that when you go to the store and buy, it doesn't matter what you buy anymore. So even if you just bought a generic set of drill bits, or if you're at Menards and you see like a 317 piece set for like $50 some or something like that would be fine too. It's most of the time. And as far as like the drill, like the screw bits or the screwdriver bits and stuff, I've never worn them out at a fast rate that I go through constantly. Usually when I'm doing installing and stuff like that, they do tend to wear out a little bit, but it's not from abuse or misusing it incorrectly or anything like that. It's just stuff is just not built the way it used to be. And sometimes when you're on a ladder or something, or you're in a tight spot or in an awkward spot, sometimes you can't get your drill in the perfect spot that you like it to. And sometimes that's where you strip your bits out when you can't get the drill in the proper position. So, and as far as like screwdrivers and other hand tools, I kind of like the Sears Craftsman screwdrivers and the Cobalt stuff. Doesn't actually matter what brand of screwdrivers you have. It could even be Harbor Freight. Could be Menards branded, Lowe's. Could even be cheap Wally World. Or if you go to Ace Hardware or Do It Best or whatever store you have. I've never really wore out screwdrivers with doing computers and stuff. And then when you're doing electronics and stuff, you want different variation of needle noses from precision to regular size to extended size. And then again, it doesn't matter what brand. I like the Craftsman stuff, preferably. And even the Cobalt stuff is decent. So it depends on how much you want to spend and where you want to get it. When you're doing computer stuff, you're not going to ever wear those things out. Those would most likely be the last set of pliers that you would ever need, or needle noses. People are always under the impression that they think they're going to wear that stuff out, but nah. And as far as other tools, wouldn't be the worst to have a scroll saw and a circular saw, because sometimes you might have to build cabinetry for equipment that you're installing. That doesn't come up very often, but so as far as like a scroll saw on that, I personally myself, I have a Sears Craftsman one from like the 90s. It's the more higher end one, but when I needed to cut out something or make a hole or do some custom cutting or something, I take it on the job site. I always, when I need it, I have it. It works. That's all that matters. Because sometimes you gotta either cut a faceplate out in the wall or something. There's much neater tools for doing that, but you got to improvise sometimes. And I should have a roto zip, but oh well. I'm usually pretty careful when it comes to cutting neat holes, so I don't really have to worry about it too much. And as far as a circular saw, if you're making cuts in them, always keep a framing square with you. If you got to cut a piece of wood or something, so that you get it, that you cut it right, and you don't cut it crooked or anything like that. So always measure twice before you cut. That's a word of advice. And as far as even like palm sanders and then, well, as far as circular saws, you can get yourself like a cheap Black & Decker or cheap Craftsman. Because for the amount of cutting that you're going to be doing, you're not going to be cutting that much. So if you find one at a yard sale or something, buy it, and for the occasional use, it'll pay for itself over time. I wouldn't buy a brand new one. Honestly, not for that application. And then even a palm sander like a Sears Craftsman or a Ryobi or something like that would serve you well. Doesn't have to be a new one. It could be a 90s or an 80s model. Or if you find one dirt cheap at a yard sale. And the reason for that is if you're mounting boards and that, you want to make it nice and smooth so that your customer can't come back and say, hey, I got splinters off of your patch board that you made. So it's just kind of cover yourself and protect yourself in that retrospect. And another important tool that you should always carry when you're on a job site is a shop vac. So when you're installing stuff and you make a mess, you can clean up in that. Personally, I think all the shop vacs are made decent. The brand shop vac itself makes a good line of shop vacs. You don't need a brand new one for that application. Or you can buy a used one or go to the thrift store or rummage sale or estate sale or something. Or if you got a relative that doesn't want it anymore. Even the Sears Craftsman line of shop vacs are pretty decent. I got one and no problems with it. It works every time I need it. I don't I don't ever the only thing I gotta do with it every once in a while is lubricate the bearings on it, but that ain't bad. And then in some cases you might even need to carry extension cords along with you. My recommendation is always make sure that you buy the correct gauge. At minimum 14 gauge, but for running heavy duty tools, 15 or 12 gauge would be the way to go. And you always want to make sure that you don't stand in a puddle while using any power tools or any electric tools because you will get electrocuted. So if you're hanging on to it, the cord or the tool or while using it. So that's my word of advice on, and it doesn't matter what brand. If you want to buy it at Fleet Farm or you want to go to Tractor Supply or buy it off Amazon or something or Menards or Lowe's, you will pay an arm and a leg. And even Harbor Freight is kind of expensive. But or if you find one at a yard sale or an estate sale or you got a relative that'll give you one, then that's the way to go. And if you're doing installing in the wintertime, just keep in mind that if you don't have an extension cord that's good for like up to like 25 below or something, it will be stiff and it will be very difficult to work with. Been there, done that. Found out the hard way. So, and as far as like it depends on what kind of application you're doing. Like if you have like an office or something, or if you're like manning a school, or then you're gonna probably more than likely your place of employment will buy you a service card. But there's a lot of different options out there. Like here in my office, I currently have 2 service carts. Those are Harbor Freight branded harbor or service carts. And for what I use them for, it's perfect. I don't have. It'd actually be kind of nice if I could have more room around here to work, but oh well. Or if you want Craftsman or Rubbermaid, or honestly, I think all the carts are made well. I don't really have any complaints against them. And as far as lighting goes, like if you have an office and that, always make sure that you have proper lighting so that when you're working in that you can see what you're doing properly. So lighting is always a must to have. And you also need nut drivers and stuff like that. And the reason for that is when you have, because sometimes you got certain nuts on the back of computers and stuff, so you always want to make sure you get a combination of Phillips flatheads, star screws, security bit screws, nut drivers and stuff. And you want to make sure you got precision and regular size, because sometimes computers and electronics have different style screws and that, and so that's. Trying to think what else. I think we've pretty much covered the majority of the kind of stuff that you need and what good tools and stuff. So I hope I answered their question. Thank you for tuning in. God bless everybody. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you soon. It was a pleasure doing this video.